Alright, people, this is Dave here, coming to you for another episode of Dave's Deep Dives. Now, before we get into the episode, we're going to start with explaining why there hasn't been a lot of uploads on this channel. We basically decided to take a break over the Christmas period. A lot of circumstances happen in each of our lives that have affected us in several different ways. Which basically meant that we couldn't do a lot of uploads for a while. That was on top of taking the 3 or 4 week break that we were planning on taking anyway. But you know, that time has passed. That we've moved on from that, and we're looking to, heavily invest ourselves into making quality content for this channel. Whether it's continuing the boxing analysis, or we'll have a Super Bowl preview coming up later in the week. We'll maybe start doing a Premier League show. Generally kind of going heads on into making content for this channel. So, alright, let's get into the topic of this video, which is the upcoming YouTube boxing fight, which is Jake Paul versus AnEsonGib. Now, this fight is taking place on the 31st of January, which is a Thursday, so it'll be Friday morning for the UK viewers. It's taking place in Miami. It's a co-main event on a DAZN card. Pay-per-view is Sky Sports in the UK. And this does have the potential to be the end of YouTube boxing. I know this is kind of just started coming into the mainstream, really. But, this could be the last YouTube fight. I think if it goes a certain way, I think it'd be a great way to send off YouTube boxing, really, because nobody's really got hurt, everybody's made money, and everybody's really profited from the adventure. How this video is going to work is I'm going to preview both fighters. I'm going to preview what their strength and some of their strengths and some of their weaknesses. I'm also going to describe how I think each individual fighter will win, what tactics they'll employ. I'll also, provide kind of outcomes as to what will happen with YouTube boxing depending on who wins this, and obviously my fight prediction at the end. Right, first of all, we will be previewing the challenger, which is AnEsonGib. Now, there's been a lot of hype around AnEsonGib, especially from the UK fan base. However, I think some of it is is blowing smoke up Gib's arse, but that's not taking anything away from him as a fighter. Gib is a quality fighter. We saw on the last card that was in the UK, the first Logan Paul versus KSI fight, he fought Jay Swingler, and that was definitely the fight of the night. It was a proper war out there. He's had 2 amateur fights, he's won them both. Now, what is apparent from watching any of Gib's fight tape is that his pressure is relentless, his energy is relentless, his cardio is fantastic. He is in your face the whole time. He might not be technically very, very good. In fact, technically, he's doing almost everything that you shouldn't be doing. But he's always there, which is fantastic when you're fighting fighters that are not experienced. It's a very, very difficult fighting style to fight against. When somebody's constantly in your face, just throwing punches from all different angles, and you don't really know what to do. I mean, we saw it a little bit in the KSI Logan Paul fight. It was evident to see that Logan Paul was a better technical boxer than KSI, but because KSI continuously brought the pressure and brought the aggression to Logan Paul, he wasn't experienced enough to combat that in effective ways, and he ended up losing the fight. I can see this going in similar way for Gib against Jake Paul. The fact that Jake Paul is not experienced enough to deal with this kind of pressure. Yes, he has a fantastic coach in Sugar Shane Mosley, which I'll get onto later, but the best teacher is in the ring. Sugar Shane can't fight for him, and Gib has that mental toughness, which is unparalleled to Jake. That anything that Jake's ever faced before. So that's a massive factor, along with the fact that he has that dog in him. A lot of people don't have that dog in him, but when you see people that do, it's very, very clear to see. He can take punches. He's got a terrific chin. Vidal Riley, who is his coach this time, has stated that Gibbs has been taking shots and after shots after shots after shots in training, and is still coming forward. Gib has that mentality where he can take 5, 10, 15 body shots in a row and be like, what? I'm still here. What are you going to do? That is going to be a massive advantage for Gib, because the way he's going to fight, the way that he's disadvantaged physically, means that he's going to have to fight that way in order to win. He's going to have to take some punishment. Coming outside from, technical standpoints, is that he has nothing to lose. Gib's already, he's going to be making at least $1 million in this fight. He's already boosted all his social media platforms immensely. He's already immortalized in the online community. Him losing will have no detrimental effect to his career whatsoever. He is going in there on a win-win basis, and that is a very, very dangerous thing to be fighting against, because it means your confidence is sky high. It means that you don't see any of the negative effects that could come out of this fight, because there are none. And he's going to be going in there gung-ho, all guns blazing, and looking to finish Jake Paul. Whether we see that or not is a different case, but when a fighter especially is just out there to do one sole thing and is so focused and so determined on doing that, then it's very difficult to put them off. And going back to the technical side, he does the basics well. He's not a terrifically powerful or quick fighter. He just does kind of basics well. He's very good defensively. I know that Vidal and Jeff Mayweather will be looking to improve his defenses in camp, like we saw with JJ. But if he can lead from his defense, especially protecting his chin and that, I think his body will be hammered anyway, which is something you can't really plan against if you're protecting your head the whole time. But if he can protect his chin and continue to come on the inside and land all those shots that he's planning to, I think it's a short path to success, short path to victory, really. Now let's go to the Jake Paul side. Jake Paul obviously has the physical advantage. He has the reach. He has the height on Gib. Gib is 5'8". Jake Paul is 6'1" at least. And he definitely has the reach advantage on him. Whether he's technical enough to employ that reach to his advantage is another story. I think that'd be something that we're definitely working on in camp. Camp is run by the legendary 7-time world champion Sugar Shane Mosley up in Big Bear. Big Bear will make or break you, basically. Big Bear is up at altitude. It's away from everything else. He'll be solely focused on boxing. He'll have stopped everything else and solely focused on this fight. Whether he can employ the training tactics to lead to success, that's a different story. But he's basically put himself in a situation where he has perfected everything, in terms of training, in terms of diet, in terms of social aspects leading up to this fight. Like he couldn't have arranged it better himself. He's given himself the perfect platform to win this fight. He has had a very, very long camp. He has reported several times that he actually started his camp when Logan started his camp for the JJ fight. So this would have been a 15 or 16 week camp. Sometimes that's down to, sometimes that's a negative effect. You don't want to be under that much physical strain and physical stress for that long. But when you're still learning the sport, I think the more time you can spend in the ring, the more time you can take learning, the basics it's a bonus, especially as this will be a very, very difficult fight for him. With the relentless pressure, he's not gonna have an easy time with it. Obviously, he has the financial backing of being one of the biggest online profiles in the world. So basically, anything that he needs, whether it's nutrition, whether it's mental work, whether it's physical work, he can provide for. As I have said already, to giving himself a platform to win this fight, to improve himself as much as he possibly can. He's sorted that out completely. However, he does have everything to lose. A lot of his fans don't know who Gib is. Probably still don't know who Gib is. He obviously is eyeing up a fight with KSI, and he sees this as a stepping stone to fight KSI. If he loses this fight, he will never get that KSI fight. If he loses this fight, he will be endlessly ridiculed for probably the rest of his life. We've seen it with Joe Weller. Joe Weller lost the fight against KSI almost 2 years ago, and he is still being reminded of it daily. And Joe Weller was a big entity, but KSI was also a big entity. Gib is nothing compared to Jake Paul in terms of, millions of subs. Yes, I know Jake Paul's channels and stuff have fallen off, and Gib's actually getting more views than him right now. But in terms of size and influence, they aren't comparable at all. If he loses this fight, we could very well see the end of Jake Paul. Right, that summarizes the preview of both fighters. Now I'm going to talk about how I think each fighter will win and the tactics they'll employ. So to start with, if Gib's going to win this fight, I think he's going to employ several things, but the 4 things that really come to mind are the constant pressure, the making it into a kind of a scrappy, unwatchable fight, the ability to take punishment and move forward, and the ability to test the chin of Jake Paul. Now, to start with the constant pressure, I've already explained this in this video so far, but Gib is always in your face. He likes to call it calculated insanity. We've seen that common with fighters that are trained by Leon and Vidal. They tend to push the fight. They tend to lead from defense and really test the cardio of their fight of their opponent. If he can do that, then I'm not sure how Jake Paul can handle this. We're not sure the cardiac level of Jake Paul. Yes, Big Bear will help him, but can he go 6 rounds with a really, really high intensity? We know that Gib can. We know that Gib has that cardiac ability and that mental toughness to continue to do that for the entire fight. And Gib will test that with Jake Paul. And if Jake Paul can't handle that, then we could very well see this fight end inside the distance. Make it into a scrap. Now, this is a key one. Jake Paul has the physical advantages over Gib. There's no denying that. Jake Paul will have the opportunity to make this using the reach advantage, quite a boring fight. However, if Gib can make this kind of a traditional, kind of small heavyweight fight, a typical like Derek Chisora, Dillian White fight, where they're kind of almost headbutting each other, they're very, very close to each other, and they're trying to land those body shots, whenever they can, and trying to tire their opponent out, then we could very well see this ending, with a Gib knockout, and I think they'll be looking to do that. From what very limited footage I have seen of Gib sparring, the one sparring thing I have seen is with Face Sensei, and that tactic was employed. It was tight guard right next to each other, and he was looking to land the body shots, looking to take that half step out, land a hook, and then step out again to avoid the counter. So that's something that I'll be very excited to see, and if he does employ, I can't really see it ending in anything other than an AnEsonGib win. Take punishment and move forward. We know that fighting with this kind of style comes with some drawbacks, and one of those drawbacks is you're going to get hit. It's inevitable. You are going to get hit. You're going to take some form of punishment. I don't care how good you are at fighting that style, and I don't care how bad the opponent is. You're going to take some punishment. You can't step in a boxing ring. You can't step into somebody's range without taking that punishment. And that's something we're going to find out whether Gib can do that. He did take some punishment in the Jay Swingler fight, but that was a long time ago, and Jay Swingler is nothing of a boxer compared to Jake Paul. It's going to be 10-ounce gloves. It's going to be no head guards. I know Eddie Hearn's been, just badgering on and on and on about the 10-ounce gloves, no head guards, especially since the JJ fight. But these punches are going to be felt differently. These punches are going to hurt. You're not going to be able to take 2-3 shots to the dome in a row. Otherwise, you're going to fall. Can Gib take the relentless kind of body shot pressure and the relentless headshot pressure that Jake Paul should bring and continue to move forward and continue to enforce his will on the fight? If he can, then Gib's going to win the fight. And lastly, test the chin of Jake Paul. A no-count Deji almost beat Jake Paul. How do you think a seriously dedicated AnEsonGib is going to test Jake Paul? I think if Gib has improved his power terrifically, I know he doesn't look anywhere near as chiseled as JJ, Logan, or Jake, but he said it many times that he's not looking, to look like a fucking Adonis. He's not looking to look like an Anthony Joshua. He's looking to be effective. He's looking to be a true boxer. Every single training session he does with regards to strength and conditioning is focused on solely boxing, solely improving his ability to land a punch and take a punch. If Gibbs' power is serious, which is looking like it is, then his ability to test the chin of Jake Paul will be tremendously increased. Testing the chin of Jake Paul obviously is the key. I think if he can do that consistently, I don't see that chin. I don't see the cement level, the granite level chin that some fighters possess in Jake Paul. If he tests the chin of Jake Paul effectively, we could very well see an early knockout here. Now, moving on to how I think Jake Paul will win and the tactics he'll employ. Firstly, he'll look to not allow Gib to come in. Then he'll look to use active footwork. He'll look to use his reach, and then he'll look to, take those opportunities when Gib tries to come on the inside. Now, to start with, not allow Gib to come in. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I've already discussed the fact that Jake Paul has the physical advantages over Gib. He has the height and he has the reach. If he has the technical ability, he can definitely keep this fight at a distance. Every time Gib will look to come in, he can use that jab, he can use that straight right, he can use that 1-2 to just remind Gib that he will take severe punishment if he tries to come in. Just to keep tagging Gib, keep frustrating Gib. If he can keep Gib at a distance and continue to land the punishment in order to keep Gib at a distance, Jake Paul will win this fight. There's no question about that. Active feet. The way that Gib's going to try and come in is he's going to try and out footwork Jake. It's going to be a lot of leading with the front foot. It's going to be quite aggressive. And in order to defend that, Jake's going to have very, very good footwork. He's going to have to be able to pivot well. He's going to have to be able to move well. He's going to have to be able to, defend well. And if he can do that effectively, then his chances of winning this fight is dramatically increased. Use the reach. Now, I've already discussed this a little bit, but with the physical advantages that Jake possesses over Gib, he has quite a significant reach advantage. I'm not exactly sure how much it is, but it's at least 3 or 4 inches. That's enough to, keep a fighter at the distance and use the jab to prevent Gib from ever coming anywhere near Jake. Whether he's technically that good or not, we don't really know. But if he has the ability to use his reach to his advantage and keep Gib at a distance, Gib is going to take more and more risks, and eventually he's going to open himself up to a more devastating punch, which Jake is probably going to look out for. And lastly, land cleanly when Gib arrives in. Now, it's 6 rounds with 3 minutes each. These guys are not technically good fighters. These guys are not definitely not professional standard fighters. They're going to make mistakes. If Jake employs his game plan perfectly, if he keeps Gib at a reach, if he just pops off the jab, pops off a 1-2 and doesn't allow Gib to come in, he's still going to make a mistake at some point, at least once, and Gib's going to get inside. Now, when that happens, can he land cleanly enough before Gib lands on him, to hurt Gib? Can he land one on the chin? Can he land a devastating body punch that could hurt Gib and make Gib have to take a step out and take a minute break, take a round off or something? If he can, then that comes a long way in 6 rounds. You can't take a round off in 6 rounds, because if you do that could decide the fight. But Gib will be forced to, otherwise he won't want to get knocked out. Nobody wants to get knocked out. So if Jake Paul can land cleanly when Gib tries to come in, it'll force Gib to take a step back, kind of collect himself for half a round, 2 minutes in a round, and that's a lot of time in such a short fight. What does this fight mean for YouTube boxing? Now, obviously, YouTube boxing is something that's hit mainstream quite recently with the KSI Logan Paul fight. It's still mental to me that this this is a pay-per-view event, that people that have been watching these creators for years are now professional boxers and fighting on a professional card with real, actual, technically amazing boxers, professional boxers, guys that have worked their whole life to be in this position. Whether they want to continue to box is another thing. I think it was quite clear that although KSI is quite a gifted boxer, he doesn't want to become he doesn't want to continue to just solely be a professional boxer. He wants to still be an artist. He wants to still be a creator. With Logan, I think Logan has stated several times that he doesn't want to be a professional boxer. He wants to move into UFC. He wants to move into MMA, as well as being that entertainer. Jake and Gib are different. I think Gib has a much more potential to be an outright properly professional boxer. He'd obviously have to drop the weight significantly, and Jake would also have to drop the weight significantly. They couldn't fight at this weight properly professionally, because they get absolutely smoked. But in terms of YouTube boxing in general, we could very well see the last fight of YouTube. That is certainly the case if AnEsonGib wins. If Gib beats Jake Paul, then I think there shouldn't be another YouTube fight, simply because I don't think anyone has the pull to really entice the mainstream media and entice the YouTube community as a whole again. Like we've seen so far with the KSI Logan Paul fights. Those fights really had the backing of almost everybody in the YouTube community. And this fight, I wouldn't say it has the pull of those two fights, but it certainly has probably 75-80% of that pull, especially on the UK side. The whole of the UK is behind AnEsonGib. Not so much to support Gib, because they've watched him a lot. He's a great guy, obviously, but because he has the opportunity to knock out Jake Paul, which I think is something that a lot of people would bite your hand off if they had that opportunity. So if Gib wins, we could very well see no more YouTube boxing events, because KSI has already stated several times that he won't fight Jake if he can't beat Gib. On the other hand, if Jake Paul beats Gib, there will definitely be a KSI Jake Paul fight. When that will happen, I don't know. KSI has already stated this several times. But if that doesn't end YouTube boxing, I think the Jake Paul KSI fight definitely will. That will definitely be a perfect way to send it off. Everybody's made money. Nobody's really been hurt from it. And it's the fight we all wanted. KSI originally called out Jake Paul first. Jake Paul denied him, and then Logan stepped up in his place. There's genuine bad blood between the two. They genuinely don't like each other. You didn't really have that same effect with Logan and KSI. There was still some sort of mutual respect between the two. But with Jake Paul and KSI, there's definitely no respect whatsoever. In the same way that there's no respect between Gib and Jake Paul. I wouldn't say there's that disdain for each other. Gib certainly doesn't hate Jake, as a person. But there's still that aggression. There's still that, they clearly want to knock each other out. And that will clearly be the case with a KSI Jake Paul event. Both of them will be looking to finish the other one off. And the YouTube boxing kind of thing will come a full circle. It would have ended with the fight that everybody wanted to see, and that would be a perfect way to send it off. It'll be a massive event again. It'll probably be bigger than the KSI Logan Paul one. It'll probably be in the UK. I'd like it to be at the O2. I'd like it to be in London, but that's just me. I think the UK fans are a lot better than the American fans. You just have to see the press conferences to see the differences. But yeah, it'll be a perfect way to send it off, and they could go back to being what they became famous for, which is being online online creators. Right, finally, to end this video off, I am going to do my predictions, how I think this fight will go. But before that, I'll go through what it will mean to each fighter if they lose. If Jake loses, I think the Paul name is done. Logan's lost to KSI in his own backyard, and if Jake loses to somebody who makes FIFA packs, I don't think he'll ever be taken seriously ever again. It will certainly mean there's no KSI fight, which is what he's obviously looking for, and it will mean the end of YouTube boxing, as I've already stated. If Gib loses, nothing happens. Gib has already won as much as he possibly can from this event. He's doubled his social media platforms. He's getting more views than Jake is. He's already immortalized in the YouTube community. If he loses, that status won't change. His reputation won't be tainted whatsoever. It's a win-win situation for him. How do I think the fight's going to go? It's very difficult to predict a fight that we've seen so little tape on each fighter. The only fight tape we've really seen of both fighters is from an event that happened ages ago, over a year ago, and I've solely based my analysis on not watching that. I've kind of been guessing from it. I don't think either fighter is going to fight anything like they did on that first KSI Logan Paul fight. However, I can't see anything other than either a Gib KO or a Gib decision. I personally think it would probably be a Gib decision. And the reason behind that is because I don't think Jake Paul is technically good enough to, to effectively counter that Gib pressure, that Gib intensity, the cardiac output that he's gonna have to maintain in order to fend Gib off. But ultimately, I think it will go to a decision simply because I don't think either fighter has the lasting power to knock each other out. We saw that evidence in the Logan KSI fight. Both the guys had the power, but it definitely diminished after round 4, definitely. And they were landing shots at each other, but they weren't effective enough to stumble each other. Yes, they were both cardio wise they were very, very strong, but you can be very, very strong cardio wise, but your power can diminish effectively. We've seen that in a number of fighters, a number of top professional fighters, and I think this is the same case again. I also think that people won't want to see their heroes, their online creators get knocked out. Whether Jake Paul brings a very, very young fan base, and a lot of them will be watching on Thursday, and a lot of them will definitely not want to see him get knocked out, and I think they'll be wary of this. And he wouldn't have chosen a fight where the chances of him getting knocked out were very, very high. I think he's going to employ tactics for him not to get knocked out, and I think that's where he's going to lose the fight. I think he's going to be so focused on not being KO'd that he's going to lose the fight on points. He's just going to get slowly picked off by Gib. He won't be able to handle that intensity, and he'll lose the fight on points. So I think Gib will win it on points. I don't think it will be a majority decision. I think it'll be a split decision like we saw in the KSI fight. But yeah, it'll be interesting to to see the outcome. I think I'll be watching it. Obviously, it's going to be late. I'm still in the UK right now, so I'm going to stay up and watch that fight. I don't know whether Dan and Clive will be doing the same. We definitely won't be streaming it. But yeah, this video, I've enjoyed making this video. It's been quite difficult. I haven't done this in a while, so it's probably a bit choppy and changey. But I feel like I've demonstrated a couple of decent points. Hopefully you guys are more educated going into watching this fight. Let me know what you think is going to happen down in the comments, whether you thought that I did a good analysis, what you liked, what you didn't like about the video, whether you have any future ideas for how we can take this channel forward and how we can continue to create good content for you guys. But yeah, apart from that, I'll see you guys in a bit.